Welcome to the Business with Beers podcast. This is the place where we help entrepreneurs expand their business, build their wealth, and generate passive income. I'm your host, Brian Beers, an entrepreneur who's on a mission to inspire growth from everyone around me. Remember that you need to take the actions others won't, and you can live the life that others don't. Please be sure to check out my weekly newsletter that now drops every Thursday. It includes one quote, one tweet, one podcast recommendation, plus some business and investing insight from me. It's short and it's sweet. My goal is to provide you with just a couple gold nuggets to help inspire your growth. Go to brianbeers.com to subscribe. Hello, everyone. I'm excited today to bring you Patrick Findaro. Patrick is the co-founder of Visa Franchise and Vetted Biz. He's also a podcaster and the author of How to Buy a Franchise. Patrick and his team have interviewed over 1,000 franchise owners and analyzed data collected from 10,000 plus franchise disclosure documents. He shares his findings with millions of future and current entrepreneurs through YouTube videos, podcast episodes, and blog posts. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Thanks, Brian, so much for having me on.
Awesome. So how did you get into franchising?
So I was I started working at JP Morgan out of college. I worked in the information services space, essentially selling data. And then I worked at a small private equity fund that would lend money to franchisees. Mm-hmm. And that was back in 2014. And then my brother and business partner, I had some friends that were executives at Burger King, now what is Restaurant Brands International. And my brother Jack out of Georgetown got a job there as part of their leadership development program. And we founded a company in 2015 called Visa Franchise. As we saw that investing in a franchise and operating a franchise was a good path, kind of a soft landing for foreign nationals to move to the US. And there's all different types of Visa categories that you can move to the US through an investment in a small business like a franchise.
Okay. And so what are some of the things, I guess, that you find attractive about franchising? Like, why should people consider owning a franchise?
I like that you can divide and conquer. So you can essentially, for some different brands, you can just focus on hiring, training, firing, as well as customer service. And you don't have to worry about brand development. You don't have to even potentially worry about sales, product development. There's so many facets of running a small business. We have a 30-person business, and there's so many different areas of our business where sometimes it would be nice just give that on to a trusted third party that they could just execute on, so we could just focus on a few different functions.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, it's the business in a box, and you have these departments and marketing, and especially a lot of franchises, right? It's marketing, it's lead gen, it's kind of like the customer facing, which is an ever evolving thing that a lot of them that help with, at least these days, and the ones that I focus on is a big part of it.
I think a big part too, Brian, is getting to that $1 million sales mark, where I think it took us 3 or 4 years, and with a franchise, you'll know, and maybe I thought it was going to happen faster. And with your own independent startup, you just don't know how long it's going to take to hit critical financial metrics. Where with a franchise, talking to franchisees, doing a proper due diligence, you should know, within 2 years, hopefully you're hitting the $1 million mark and making, $150K of compensation, because you already talked to 10 other franchisees that was their growth trajectory. So I think that predictability is a great part of franchising.
Okay. Yeah. So let's break down your kind of two businesses here. So you've got, which one did you start first?
We started Visa Franchise in 2015.
Okay,
it's
the Visa Franchise
advisory company that's changed, because for about 7 years we were just helping people invest in franchises to get an investor visa, mostly the E2 investor visa. But then we saw that there were other avenues that our clients could move to the US faster and even get a US green card and not invest a substantial amount of capital. So we also offer services related to other green card categories like the EB2 and IW. And it's kind of morphed into a US visa solutions business rather than just a franchise advisory practice for foreign nationals.
Okay. So where are most of the foreigners coming from?
Great question. It's about 50-60% Latin America. I speak Spanish, I speak Portuguese and some French. We have over 20 people on our team that speak Spanish. and LATAM. Just there's not the,
Yep.
the proximity to the US. There's a
Time zones and it's just
time zone. Canada, Europe, and then China was really a great market for us, but it's cooled off. The U.S. State Department's gotten much harder in terms of adjudicating Chinese visas, sadly. So for us, we don't have as many Chinese clients, but it's all we've had like 65 different nationalities, so it's all over the place.
Okay. So people, they reach out to you, they're from Latin America. What are kind of like, walk me through your process. Like, I guess you interview them and then walk me through kind of like, what are you looking for in terms of how you're making kind of a recommendation to find a franchise that matches, what they're looking for?
Yeah, definitely. So like every day, 50, 75 people reach out to us at Visa Franchise, and they're looking for information. They're at different stages of understanding different business opportunities, understanding different visa opportunities. And based on how qualified the lead is, a member from our sales team reaches out, usually over WhatsApp. And basically we have a consultation. If anyone's listening to this podcast and reaches out to Visa Franchise, I'm happy to waive the fee, but usually we charge $189 for that initial consultation, where we walk them through all different types of visa options, franchise options. And then we tend to work on a month-to-month basis, where if someone has adequate time to allocate to the process, it should just take 2 to 3 months to solidify the investment and then apply for the visa to the United States.
Okay. And then what are the investment levels that they have to make in order to qualify?
Yes, it really depends. And the State Department would never say this, but if you're from Canada, 70K, 80K.
Yep. Okay.
If you're from Pakistan, at least 150, 200K.
Okay.
So there's certain countries that it's just going to be a lot easier.
Yep.
China right now, it's tough. But yeah, Canada, UK, even Mexico, you can generally invest a lower amount. That's what we've seen from our clients. And then we also we've worked with hundreds of immigration attorneys. So we pull a lot of data and information to see different adjudicating trends. But it's going to matter. Okay. Ideally, someone is investing more than $100,000. Yep. And some nationalities will be harder.
Yep. Okay. Great. And so then talk to me a little bit about Vetted Biz, which is the data company, right?
Yeah, definitely. So Vetted Biz was just our offline database for Visa Franchise as we were evaluating these different opportunities. Sadly, foreign nationals are people prey on foreign nationals. And oftentimes we found it would be a Mexican preying on a Mexican, a Canadian preying on a Canadian. So a lot of our clients came to us after they basically fell for a scam. So we decided very early in our company history that we had to do a very thorough due diligence based on what our clients' prior experience with investing in the U.S. in an attempt to get an investor visa. Sometimes they got it, sometimes they didn't. But looking at all different types of information on the franchisor, litigation against the franchisor, whether it's disclosed in the FDD, not disclosed in the FDD. Who are these executives? What's the parent company? What's the relationship with the parent company? Have they had prior success? So, and then payback period, looking at the unit level economics. But we have a pretty tight ship in terms of evaluating these opportunities for our clients. And it's based on our history and looking at all these problem cases that it's like narrowing it down, where maybe there's 100 franchise opportunities and our job is to really just eliminate options for our clients.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest, I guess, red flags that you've seen in franchisors and that you warn your people to stay away from?
I think meteoric growth is a red flag. It can be great. Like, with Crumble Cookies, I know that was like one of our top one of the top URLs growth on our website for a very long time. And I discovered it a while back because everyone was searching to buy it. And yeah, at times it can make sense to open up a ton of locations. But there's been a bunch of businesses like scams like Burgerim or failed franchise opportunities that I don't think had a bad intent from the beginning, but an offshot from Menchie's frozen yogurt, Medici Pizza, that sold hundreds of locations. The franchisor ended up going bankrupt. So it's growing too fast, especially if the concept isn't proven out, and that you don't have franchisees that are really making good money and can do it, with the second location, third location, or second territory, third territory if it's a service related brand.
Yep. So in a lot of those, I think they sell them, right, but they don't necessarily get them open. And that's kind of where they start to have issues.
A lot of them, that's well said. So looking at that's one of the ratios we look at Vetted Biz, the projected openings compared to how much they actually opened up. Yep.
Yeah, because if they're selling them, but they're not opening them, generally that means they have a bottleneck, right? And sometimes it could be the franchisor's team is like very small, right? And they have like a real estate guy, and the guy has to like approve every location, but he only can approve X amount a month, and they've got like 2 years worth of a backlog. And then it's a question of why aren't they investing in more people to help grow it. And so that's a key.
Headcount at the HQ level is an important metric to look at. Like you go on, there was it seems like a scam, like some franchise that claims per Entrepreneur Magazine to have like 80 locations.
Yep.
And on LinkedIn, they have like 5 people at the corporate office.
Yeah.
And the locations you can't find online. So yeah, the employees at headquarters compared to how many franchise locations are supposedly open is something to look at.
Yeah. So what's I don't know, have you seen like a good ratio, or how do you determine that?
It's going to depend, I think, a lot on the type of business. Like if it's a physical type of business that requires like a real estate,
like a retail,
there's going to be, you're going to have more employees. Versus one of those businesses where it's like a home service brand, they have a call center, and to start, maybe they have a corporate office of 20 employees supporting 50, 60 franchisees, but they don't have to like scale. When they get to 500 units, they're not necessarily like growing linearly in terms of the HQ headcount. Another thing just thinking about is like overcomplicated royalties in the item. What's it, item 7 or item 6?
Yep, 6 or 7. Yeah, 6. Yep.
Where like Kumon, Mathnasium, when you dig into it, it's just like, oh wow, like franchisees are paying like for a Kumon like 20%, 25% royalty. And it's so hard. Like it took me 3 hours to like realize that.
So how's it structured?
Franchisees reaching out.
Because it's like a per percentage plus like a per unit plus like a minimum.
They charge an amount based on how many courses are being taken. So say you charge like $140 per course, the royalty I believe is like something like $28 or $35 per course.
Oh wow, yeah, it's huge.
So you don't really understand it until you talk to a lot of franchisees. And in our case, like I got it half right. And the president of the franchise association reached out. I was like, no, it's actually more like this. So 7-Eleven's kind of similar, where they charge all different types of fees based on gross profit. And then there's other ones like Home Instead recently changed their FDD, where if you're not growing at a certain rate, you start like having to pay more percentage.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
and it's like, it sounds more like an employee plan than like a franchise royalty structure.
Yeah, like the simple, the better. Even the best ones is actually, then the more you grow, like the less you pay. Like those are my favorite. And there's not many that do that, but those are the best. It's a tiered upward. And then the business becomes a lot more profitable because you're already diluting fixed costs, and now you're recapturing some of that royalty.
I heard Signal, that security company, I think it used to go by Signal 88. I interviewed a franchisee. He has like 500 employees, and he mentioned that they provide rebates on the royalties based on certain metrics being hit. Yep. But yeah, it's not so common.
Yeah. So what are some of the trends? Like what are some franchise industries, or, let's start with industries that you're bullish on right now?
Services. Home services.
Home services.
I think for the next like 10, 15 years, if you're willing to roll up your sleeves and you're good with people, it's a super scalable business. Staffing in general. If you're good managing people and changing hats a lot, from getting the staff, getting the people to place the staff with, especially for the senior care space. I don't see that going away anytime soon.
So let's say home services. So then why bullish on home services? What are the macro trends that make it a good deal right now?
So on the home care side, the senior population in the US, and then home services, just people working from home. Even though a lot of people have gone back to the office, they're not going back oftentimes for the full 5 days. It could be like 2 days back at the office, and they're spending a lot more time at home, more time looking at their floor, more time looking at the exterior of their homes. So I would say home care as well as home services, and then different service-related businesses where neither the owner wants to do it, like a business owner wants to do it, or a consumer, like junk removal. Mm-hmm. Consumers don't want to do it themselves. People don't want to run a junk removal business generally. So there's there's oftentimes some good money to be had. Yeah, no, and I'm on the same page there. Some of the macro cases I've heard for home services specifically are people who've locked in, 3 or 4% mortgage rate, like aren't moving anytime soon, right? Because they don't want to like double their payment for like the same size or a slightly bigger house. And so, that's creating a shortage in the real estate market of homes. However, because they're staying in their homes, the wife or whoever now wants new blinds and they want to paint the kitchen and, remodel the bathroom or whatever, instead of moving to that new house every 7 years or, whatever it is. And so that is the macro level case that a lot of people are talking about in terms of why they're bullish on home services. And even if there's like a slowdown in the real estate market, it's because people are staying in their homes and then they're going to spend money and they're spending more time in their homes too, which are all great points. And yeah, the silver tsunami, all these people getting older. I actually, my brother and I, we invested in a senior care franchise where we partner with somebody who's running the day to day. It's right at home. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but great
yeah, they're a great team there. We love all the people there. We're able to buy a market locally, and so anyway, we're really bullish on that. But it's a staffing agency, right? You got to be good at hiring people. Like there's tons and tons of demand. It's your ability to hire and retain caregivers is a huge challenge, and you got to be up for that. But a lot of money to be made if you can figure it out.
How did you source the day-to-day operator?
So I found a guy and who I knew, he has a W2, and I knew he wanted to be an entrepreneur and have his own business. And so we were looking just to say, hey, you look like you'd be an excellent franchisee. We have all this franchise knowledge. We can help support you. And so we happened to find this thing locally, and it was off to the races. So, but yeah, he quit his job. And he's running, it's his business. And we're just like, financial backers of it.
That's very cool. Yeah. Cause I get asked all the time about, like, Patrick, do you own a franchise? Would you invest in a franchise? And that would be the scenario. I own publicly traded franchise companies, like at the franchise brand level, but I would need like a day-to-day operator.
Yeah, that's my thing too. I mean, I don't have the time or the focus, to be dedicated. And so I need operating partners who have the time, who have the focus, who have the energy, who have the ability to go out and execute. And then, I figure we can provide, the knowledge, the industry knowledge, some money, but like a lot of it's, these things don't cost that much to get into. Money. It's more, it's more the board of advisors and someone to talk to and bounce ideas off of. And, I think having a partner, or at least for me and my brother, and probably you and your brother, like you guys talk and you can share ideas. And I think that is, that's very valuable. I think if you're totally by yourself, I think that becomes, a little bit more lonely. So.
Yeah. And I see interviewing a lot of franchisees that the ones that don't have a partner, like oftentimes within the first 2 years, like they really thought hard of quitting. Where I think if you have a business partner, like those tough times, like you'll get pushed through.
Yeah. Cause we're constantly, me and him, I'm sure it's the same, like bouncing ideas and like, I'm in a rut, but then he's all fired up about something, or I'm fired up and he's in a rut, and like you help balance each other out and see the other side of the coin, which I think is important. So
yeah, there's a reason that family businesses have been around for thousands of years.
Yeah. Or we can go the other way. I know Midas guys who like, they hate each other and they don't see each other at Christmas or whatever, and they split up the stores, and it's a complete disaster. So you got to make sure it's right before, so at least getting in family side of it.
I think also sizable. Like we have a lot of our clients that are coming to us. I want to invest together with my friend or my brother, and I'm like, this franchise, like, we'll probably do sales of like 600K and you'll take home like 120K. are you guys going to be happy with that? Like, who's going to be like the one working it? So I think like when you do have a business partner, especially if both like are going to make their livelihood from it, it has to be like a sizable business.
Yeah, for sure. So bullish on home services, senior care. What are some franchise industries that you are staying away from right now and not talking to people about? Coffee. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Coffee. Like I think the best coffee opportunities, these like drink opportunities, whether it's alcohol, coffee, they're simple enough that if the economics are really good, they don't franchise them.
Yeah.
So like Dutch Bros used to franchise, and then now they're just growing corporate stores. Starbucks, I think it's like 7% in the US is licensed. 93% are corporate stores. All the drive-through locations pretty much are corporate stores. So coffee, I think it's tough. I haven't found like a great franchise brand.
And if it depends where you live, like major cities, model, like the north, like I'm in the Northeast, Miami, right? You can't. There's no spot to develop a runner's coffee or I don't even know the name. I don't know the name of them, but because I don't work with any of them. But it's just like so you have to be like it's like middle of America or places where you can buy a corner plot of land and then build this thing. It's I think it's very regional, and unless you live in one of those kind of more rural areas, it's a challenge. So. Plus in Miami, you got Cuban coffee. I don't know how you can compete with that.
Yeah, it's like a shot of...
What else? So coffee's, you're bearish on coffee. Any others?
Yeah, I look at a coffee franchise and it's like, I can just guess that it's just going to take like 6+ years to make your money back. I think the trends on food, food in general, you have to be very, you have to be very careful of. So there are like, you don't want to be like the next frozen yogurt. So any kind of food concept that's following a trend, especially like there are some great bowl concepts, but it's just businesses that people want to be in, like, running like a cool cafe that's like organic cafe. Like there's a lot of people that want to do that and have that kind of lifestyle. So it draws a lot of competition, and I think people have to be very mindful of what they really want from the business, and is it more of like industry of interest, like more of a lifestyle, or is it more about making money? And if it's more about the lifestyle, like I think pretty much across the board, the lifestyle type businesses like don't make as much money because a lot of people want to be doing it.
Yep, and they're there for lifestyle, right? They're not necessarily there for the profit side. And that's kind of the beauty of franchising, right? It's like it can be anything you want it to be. And it's just finding the right brand that matches like what your goals are. And I know there's people
thinking out loud, like these like large, like Applebee's, these like full service restaurants. Like, I don't know what, I'd love to talk to someone that's opening a new one. There's a lot of people buying existing TGI Fridays or Applebee's.
Yep.
But I haven't heard from anyone that's opening a new one because they want to. Maybe they acquired 10 and there was a development agreement that they had to open up another 5 as part of the deal. But I haven't talked to anyone that's just like signing up to open up like 10 Applebee's or 10 TGI Fridays, as I just don't see how the numbers can work.
Yeah, it's similar. My business is similar in Midas. There's a lot of acquisitions of the bigger guys just buying up the smaller guys. And there are, like, we've opened 2 new stores. There's another franchisee here in South Jersey who's very good, and he's opened up a few. But like, there's not that many because part of it's unit economics. Real estate's hard. Build outs are expensive. Versus we can go and buy an existing one for $150,000 or whatever, or we have to go build a new one. For a whole lot more. And so that's...
How's the triple net market for Midas's?
No one wants to sell them, if that's what you're asking. I want to buy them. We own 7 of our 32. The rest are either direct leases, head leases, or part of REITs or whatever, which are really hard to get out of. But yeah, there's ton of demand. I have brokers call me every week. So...
At least in Florida, I see a lot of people developing Popeyes, or even I think it's Take 5 oil, Take 7 oil.
Take Five Oil. Yeah.
They build it, sell it, and they were able to recoup their capital back quite fast, and then just open up the next one.
That goes on here too. Yeah, they're part of Driven Brands, and I don't know. I'm not buying those at 5 caps or 6 caps, but yeah, it's a good business model for the person building it and developing it.
Exactly.
For sure. But cool. So walk me through then, like the vetting. So what are some of the other things that a franchisee can do of how they can go about vetting someone that they're talking to? Like, what are some of the qualities and questions that they should be asking?
Understanding, I think, questions asking the franchisor is like, especially if you're at the higher level, what are they going to be doing the next 5-10 years? Like, is this going to be their legacy? There are some brands that are still founder led, and then there's other ones that are exploring an exit, or it's already PE. So the guy that you're signing a franchise agreement with, or his boss, isn't going to be around in 3 years, but you're signing an agreement for 10 years. And if the culture of that company isn't like really set, it can just like sway, with the wind. And there are some great companies that change hands in terms of majority owners, but they have a very strong culture. But if you don't have that really strong culture, then, it's just, you're doing business also with a person, especially if it's a smaller unit count. And I think really understanding, is that guy going to be around in 5 years, 10 years, or is it going to be a hired gun, which can be fine depending on the type of business.
Yeah. So how do you go about, so you've got a brand new franchise concept with just a couple units, the founding location, right? And now they want to scale it. Like this is a big trend. So how do you go about determining, like, it's a bet on the jockey, right? That guy is able to like grow this brand more than it is the concept. Usually they're tried and true concepts, right? Yes. So how do you go about determining, like, is this thing going to be the next Orange Theory and the first franchisees can make a ton of money, or is it going to be like a total bust and, the guy has no idea what the hell he's doing?
Yeah, longevity, and, is the guy looking for like a get rich quick option? Like there was a franchise that this guy developed like 120 units, and it's slowly gone down to like 60, and he just like switched to another franchise brand. Instead of probably trying to work and like changing some of the items, like with the franchise brand that's on the decline. So I think looking at the track record, and ideally the business already has 3, 4, 5 corporate locations that are making a lot of money, and he wants to do franchising to make something that's much, much bigger than him. And he's looking to, grow this, and doesn't have a set time that he's looking to sell the business, or other investors that really want to get their money back from the business. That's what I would be looking at.
And then, do you have any success in helping people buy existing franchises, like groups of them, or is it more the new ones?
For our clients at Visa Franchise, some of them will do resales, but a lot of them are trying to get in at like 100K, 150K. And we generally advise, unless you have 250, 300K, it's hard to, it's just like, you can just spin your wheels and spend like a year and a half, like sifting through like opportunities that don't make much money. Yeah. So what will happen a lot of times, I know you've said in podcasts, is just a lot of times franchisees will buy and sell from each other. That's the easiest transaction. Yep. But at times with connections with the franchisors like that you can kind of get in for someone that's on the outside, but seeing if there's an opportunity to place a candidate into a resale opportunity, and it's not already listed on Biz Buy Sell, and it hasn't already been looked at by thousands of people.
Yep. Yeah, that's the case. Yeah, they want to sell to each other, and like sometimes that first one you got to buy, start, and then you can go and growth through acquisition after that is a very common theme and strategy that I've seen a ton of people have success with.
It's happened a lot with real estate property management, where someone will buy an existing portfolio of say like 15 vacation rentals or 100 single family property management contracts. We've had clients that are they're okay with starting from zero, but an acquisition opportunity comes about, whether it's through a franchisee that's looking to get out of the system or just an independent mom and pop. There's some franchisors that have their own M&A departments that are just constantly looking at deals that they could roll into the franchise system, whether that be real estate property management, whether that be in-home care.
Okay. Do you have some success stories you can share of people you've worked with and, after you got them placed and kind of the success they've had in the franchise system?
Definitely. Yeah. All the success, we have a client that has over 400 properties under management in LA County. Another client that opened up a kitchen and bath remodeling business, cleared $1 million in just a couple of years. One client in the Tampa area that has a bowl concept. They do average unit volume over $1 million. And it all came down to hard work.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the trade?
I have one client that did like a joint venture with a barbershop that he invested $215, and he barely works at all. Yeah. And from that first location, he's making like $150K a year. Okay. And he went on to do another like 8 joint ventures with that model. It's not a franchise, but it's a licensed business in the barbershop space. And he refers so many clients to us, but I'm like, man, like that's an anomaly. Like someone not working, making that 70% return on their capital. Like you gotta get to work. You gotta roll up your sleeves. But the commonality too is they all had prior success. They all were making, say, 150K, 250K plus, and their career was going like this. And then they went into franchise, and maybe it took a step back, and then it kept going up. But you're not just gonna like just start having success like jumping into a franchise brand. I think prior success really begets future success.
Yep. What's your take on these franchisors that sell the dream of like passive ownership or like only work 5-10 hours a month and like manage the manager?
There's a big lawsuit right now with what that martial arts concept.
Oh, yeah.
You can't screw people over, and you can't say something that's not already proven, that you don't have a lot of Premier Martial Arts.
Yeah, Premier.
I've gotten so many franchisees reaching out to us, telling us their story about that, and it falls on the franchisor to properly convey what is possible and what is possible also for that candidate based on their profile. So if you're selling to a lawyer or doctor, that they work pretty serious hours, and it's for that profile. Is it going to be realistic that they're going to be really totally hands off? And it falls on the candidate too. Like the candidate needs to vet this better and like talk to franchisees that are actually doing this semi-absentee or full absentee type model. But if it was so easy, like I would own like 5 of these semi-absentee franchises. Like I've been looking at franchises for like 8 years nonstop, and I don't own a full absentee franchise. I haven't found it, or at least I haven't found it at my risk tolerance. Like I don't want to buy a business that's like 20% failure rate, and I'm also signing a lease for it. And I have 2 young kids. I have to start working in the business. Like, no thanks to make an extra 50K or whatever a year.
Yeah. That's my take on it. I think it's kind of bullshit that it's even a lot of things are sold that way, but it takes a lot of work to get these things off the ground. And I think they're selling a dream like it's real estate. Like, oh, you just put a property manager in and get your check on the 15th or whatever it is. And it's not like that at all. It's a business, and it requires hard work, and you create value, but that's where you can create a bunch of money. Like that's how you make a lot of money is through value creation. And you're not going to get it just sitting back and letting someone else do the work. Cause if it was that easy, the franchisor doesn't need franchisees. They would just do it. Yeah. They would just have corporate locations, right? Yeah. Like, and capture all that value themselves. So I don't know.
There's a lot of sensationalism in franchising and small business now, where you have people like that own like 20 small businesses or whatever, where I had one small business for 6 years, and then we have a very closely related sister company, and your family for 30 years, basically 45. The same business, and then you've now diversified over after 30 years.
Yep.
So that's that's a pretty common trajectory. Like if it's working, you just keep going. And then if you see an opportunity that's an amazing, but these people that boast about having like 10 small businesses and they've been doing it for 3 years, it just doesn't add up.
Yeah. And it's like a dilution of focus. That was my problem. Like we had other franchises we operated and none of them were nearly as successful. And we found it was because like, you know, I was the key person in each one of those. And like, you know, it's like a different macroeconomic plan, different marketing plan, different people, different comp plan, different strategies. And just like, you know, it's really hard to with all these different things you got to figure out versus just like one thing that you're just continuing to repeat, rinse and repeat and grow. And like, even at Midas, like there's nothing that happens that we haven't already like happened before and we already know what to do. Right. So there's no new problems. It's just, now it's just a game of trying to figure out how do we do this more at scale? How do we get a massive group of people to change habits? Like our problems are different, but they're not wildly different. They're just more psychological now. It's my biggest challenge, but.
And so you can be the best. You can be the best. You can't be like the best franchisee of like 4 different systems or even like non-franchise brands, but you can easily be, based on everything you've said today and the other podcasts I've listened to, the best Midas franchisee or the best even automotive franchisee.
Yep. So awesome. Cool. So where can people connect with you and learn more about Visa Franchise and Vetted Biz?
Yeah, definitely. LinkedIn, I'm pretty active. Patrick Findaro, Findaro. And then the website for both of our companies, vettedbiz.com, as well as visafranchise.com. Visa as in like the credit card, visafranchise.com. So we produce a lot of information for free. And then for Vetted Biz, it's a subscription as a service. If you're not receiving the value, you can just cancel. And we're very open to the different data that people are looking to get out of franchises, whether it's a franchisor, franchisee, or prospective franchisee.
Awesome. Cool. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and kind of, helping people, move to America and create the life they want to live. I think it's awesome. So.
No, thanks, Brian. And thanks for all the information you share on Twitter and across all the different channels.
Yep.
Big fan.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Pat. That's all we got for this episode with the Business with Beers podcast. One thing that would really help both us and other new potential listeners is to rate the show and leave a comment in iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen. Also, make sure to link up with me on your preferred social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find all my links at brianbeers.com. Please just share the podcast with anyone who you think might enjoy it. And until next time, remember to take the actions others won't to live the life that others don't.